In the Know.
Welcome, good evening. I'm Miss Jill, and this is In the Know, brought to you by our Neutral Voices. The greatest gift a woman can offer the world is to know her God-given purpose and have the confidence to walk in it. That is a beautiful and powerful quote said by our lovely guest this evening, who is also a lover of her community, a community leader, and an educational advocate, amongst many other things, which we're going to talk about tonight. But first, I want to welcome our guest, the lovely Denita Washington. Hello.
Welcome. Thank you.
Happy to have you with us
Yes,
today.
excited to be here. Thank you.
And you did say that the greatest gift a woman can offer the world is to know her God-given purpose and have the confidence to walk in it.
Yeah.
And you're passionate about helping people understand and realize the importance of that.
Absolutely.
Okay, love it. So let's get started talking a little bit about you. Give us a brief history on Miss Denita.
Denita Washington. I am Fort Wayne native. A lot of people ask me, did I grow up here? I'm like, yes. Went to Adams Elementary, Black Hawk Snyder, and then Purdue Fort Wayne.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And did an undergrad at Purdue and then a master's degree at Concordia University, Portland, Oregon. I've worked in a lot of sectors.
Yes.
I've been at Fort Wayne Community Schools in the 90s. Did that for about 15 to 16 years. Mm-hmm. And then they had the Elmhurst closing.
Okay.
And didn't have space for me in positioning after that. And so went over to East Allen for a couple years. And after East Allen, I went to Indiana Tech and went in the collegiate level and then went into public service.
Yes.
And became an elected official.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a journey.
You were and are a busy woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's a brief.
Yes.
Briefing.
Yes.
So, before we get a little more into detail about some things that you are a part of or organizations, etc., I want to talk first and foremost about you are the visionary and the founder of FWGR, and that stands for Fort Wayne Girlz Rock, girls with a Z. Mm-hmm. I like that. So let's talk a little bit about that organization, how it came, how it was birthed, and the passion behind that. Let's talk about that starting out.
Wow, that's a loaded question. The passion behind it comes probably from the little girl who used to be a cheerleader for the Omega Coast with Metro Youth Sports. And on the way home, after being made the captain of the team, a group of young ladies didn't like it and were offended, and they let me know with hits and words. And luckily, by the time I got to Adams from Memorial, if y'all know that walk, I have a big sister that was there. And my sister didn't play no games about me. And so she kind of took care of the group. But my soul was different. It took something from me when it's the leadership. And from that point on, I remember Black Hawk Middle School, I made the cheerleading squad and did not cheer. But I would stay after and teach them cheers because leadership for me became something that was like, no, don't want to do it, because the feeling that came from that moment of being lifted up and then girls not liking it. Yeah. And that took me and it traveled with me. And then as I got older, I worked in the school and I began to see this same behavior pattern with other young girls. And so I started with Mrs. Anita Dorch at Lakeside Ladies. I became a cheerleading coach at Metro as well for years. And then when I met Anita Dorch at Lakeside, we did Lakeside Ladies. And as that transitioned, every time I would leave a school, the program would die, and I didn't like that. I wanted legacy.
Yeah.
And so I went from Lakeside, I went to Wayne Gyms, Harding Gyms, New Haven Gyms. But everywhere I left, it couldn't sustain. And so
Gotcha.
got to New Haven and talked with Tabitha Irvin over at the Renaissance Y at the time. And I told her about the vision that I had, and that I needed a facility. I needed a neutral space. Because churches, people will say, I don't want to go. No, my daughter ain't going to that church. And so Girlz Rock, we started the journey then with Girlz Rock. I planned for about 50, and we ended up with 150. And I knew that we had something that was not only necessary and needed, but would bring gifting and joy to girls across this nation.
I love that. And so, like, when you started your story off and you said a little girl, that you were the little girl. And you know, a lot of times we talk about turning our pain into our purpose. And many times too, when you ask someone, you know, why do you do what you do? A lot of times there is a personal story that comes along with it. And it's one that kind of goes like, I know how this feels, and I want to do whatever I can in my power to make sure that another does not feel this way.
Absolutely.
And, you know, with that being said, you also said at every level of success, there's been someone who hasn't cared for me, did not like me, or understand the vision. Let's talk about that for a minute if we can, because, you know, we even talk a lot about you're not really successful if everybody likes you.
Absolutely.
And something my dad told me when I was younger is, if everyone loves you, Jill, you're not a very good supervisor. And that has stuck with me. So let's talk about when you said that every level of success, there's been someone else who doesn't care for me, like me, or understand the vision.
Yeah, and I think more I've learned that even though they may like me, like you said, they lack understanding of the vision, because the vision wasn't given to them.
Right.
So even though we're in relationship and we're in friendship, you know, I'll give a prime example with Girlz Rock. I had a mentor who I loved and adored. She said it should be Black Girlz Rock. She was very agitated with me because I wanted to keep it at a neutral space for all girls. And my experience at New Haven really prepared me, because that's when I began to be entrenched around a more white community.
Gotcha.
And she didn't understand that. And she said, you know, you need to do something for our community. And you have to listen to your spirit. You know what God has put in you. At least I did. And this was a mentor that I adored and loved. But I really had to stand strong with her and say no. And so even at one of my events, a group came in, I'll never forget this, and they did kind of a Black power almost movement within the event. And girls from New Haven were there. And I remember I had to really guard that space and stand, and I had to stop what was about to move. And from then on, I understood that purpose comes with disappointment, with hurt from people that you love, that you bring to the platform to come before girls. But if they cannot be honorable to the vision, then I don't really bring them in the space, because safety for my girls is everything, emotionally and socially.
Right. And when you say that, I respect that. Because too many times we ostracize children and they don't understand why we're separating them. And for you to exclude any group of children, because you said you felt that, you know, that exclusion, you felt that alienation. With children, I don't think we should alienate them, because we always talk about unity, but then if you alienate a certain sector of those children, then how are we going to bring unity together? So I respect that stance with you and how you stood on that.
It was tough. You know, again, as I've transitioned, a lot of times too, people will say, well, this is just for Black girls. Like they will say that to me, and I'm like, no, this is for all girls. So if you ask me my biggest barrier, that has been the biggest barrier with the branding, is that I've really tried to make sure. And so my practices with leadership is, it looks different. You know, it doesn't, it's not all African American. I have females that lead across the city who don't look like me. And so when I bring presenters in, my team and I are very strategic, you know, about purpose, and not just the look of it, but what's the heart of the people that come before the girls to speak.
And I absolutely, go ahead.
No, I was just getting ready to say that same thing. When you say the leadership, the people you're connected to, they don't all look like you.
No.
And so, but that is something that you stand on. And I've worked with you before on some projects, and with the group when you were doing the hair back to school event. And I will say, you are serious about your girls. You know, and you bring quality people to the table. And so you mean it when you say, hey, if you don't come here with their best interest at heart, you come to the wrong place. You're not invited to the table.
Because I understand that one moment can either build or break.
Yes.
Yes.
And sometimes we get one shot at it.
Yes.
I don't always get, some of them don't always return one shot.
right.
But I look at the legacy of it now and how many have come back and said, you know, my granddaughter doesn't like to go a lot of places with me because she's like, are we going to have to talk for 20 minutes? But a lot of that is because people now, you know, I'm in the legacy stage of things, and girls and moms and dads now say, thank you. Thank you for the time you spent. Thank you for what you poured. So.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love how you stuck,
good.
you know, it was your vision. So like you said, like we say, if we can see it, we can't expect everyone else to see it. And even when you care or love, I mean, there are a lot of people, you know, family members and such. You can't take everyone with you on a certain journey, on a certain path. And what I love most about what you did is sometimes I think as a people, as a community, all communities, we feel like if we haven't experienced something, that just means it doesn't exist. Okay. So if I, for example, you know, when I was teaching my daughter about driving, I said, when you get pulled over, here's what you do. You grab your registration. Like, I didn't have to tell her. I wasn't trying to keep her alive. I was trying to keep her from getting a ticket. So, you know, that's something that I will never understand what it feels like as a mother. But I also have the empathy and the ability to understand that it's real. So the fact that you thought, how would this make this other, you know, them feel? And you acted on it because it aligned with your vision is a beautiful thing. As far as the description, I just want to read this a little bit. We're going to say FWGR, because that's those are the letters that break it down, is a not-for-profit organization. It focuses on the development, empowerment, and positive exposure for young girls grades 6 through 12. Since 2012, served over 2,000 girls and women in Northeast Indiana through conferences, workshops, seminars, and an annual summer camp. So with that being said, how would somebody walk us through, if I want my daughter to join and she is within this age range, how would I go about doing that?
Two ways. The school system now, we have a great relationship. So our summer camp ended up transferring into our leadership camp, which is in March. Every year we do it the month of Women's Month. And this year we had 375 girls from across the city. And so every school system now transports the kids to our program, and it is all about development. And so for six middle school students, they ended up, you know, they did career exploration. So we had every career you could think of in the gym, and with 200 and some girls having conversations, bringing in touching. So Dr. Andrea Dortch Pharmacy brings in her information on becoming a pharmacist, but also making it tangible and touchable, because that's the other thing. It's one thing to come and preach beyond girls, but really to make it touchable and tangible in reality is where we have really tried to reach. And so if you wanted to get engaged through your school system, guidance counselors, they all know, most schools. And then the other way is through our Facebook page. Okay. That is the most busiest way, I'll be honest, that we get a lot of girls. You can also, my number is public, 260-415-0844. And Girlz Rock page is Fort Wayne Girlz Rock. So those are the two ways that a lot of times parents and then the schools and guidance counselors at the schools are the ones that we usually use.
Perfect.
Other than the tangible, and I love and respect that, because, you know, it's changed a lot, but, you know, there's some jobs that girls are not supposed to do. So you bring the tangible and give them the understanding that they can do it. But what other aspects or what other things would I learn at a leadership camp or a girls camp? What other enriching nuggets do you have?
Mental health. Wellness is real. And we teach girls to recognize that when they're not well. And when others aren't well, and the way that they come into spaces, how they will handle you when they're not. Because a lot of times we stay friends and in groups with women and girls, and we don't understand what is happening, what's wrong, why do you come angry to the space, why do you, like, we just got to school and you already cracking on me or saying something negative. And so we teach them the tools to understand that, listen to your inner voice. if it doesn't feel good, it's not.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And you have to be courageous enough. Part of it is building the courage
Right.
to understand who you are, whose you are, and that you have a destiny.
Right.
I don't care where you're born. I grew up in McCormick Apartments. Every statistic was against me. You know, 2 kids by the age of 18. But I still say the power of one at every stage of my life helped build me to who I am. And that's the second thing I'll say, that in Girlz Rock, I try to bring women around them that will stick. Not just show up for the one day
Yes.
moment,
Yes.
but also will build alongside us and with us. And so, you know, when I see a career of a girl, and I see someone, once they leave middle school and they start heading into doctoral, or they want to be a beautician or whatever that looks like, then I try to tag somebody in to operate and work in the space with them for that 4 year and even beyond when they get to collegiate. I don't know how many weddings I've gone to and, you know, births of babies and they married. You know,
Right.
purposed,
Right.
because of they were able to come to our program and see life differently.
Yeah, I love that. And we had the Smith Academy, I want to say a week or so on, and something that they kept talking about was the exact same thing. Like, we want to, you know, encourage and, you know, love on the students while they're here, but we also want a sense of, you know, longevity, or we want this to sustain. So they talked about that making a difference between a program that is successful and one that kind of, oh, you're done with the program, you know, have a nice life type of thing. Because I know all of us, no matter what stage of life we're in, can look back and look at the people that were truly there for us throughout the whole thing, and those who were just there for us until, you know, we dropped off. Those people are important. Those moments are pivotal. So in 2018, you also made history for something else. I mean, you're making a lot of history, but in 2018, you truly made history. Yeah. Let's talk about what happened in 2018.
I was elected as Adams Township Trustee, first African American and first female ever to hold that seat. So
Big deal.
That's a big thing.
Yes. Yes.
it is.
Yes.
It is.
Absolutely.
So elected in before election. I didn't really know what I was going to do and why. But I tell people I believe I was prepared, because in 2009, I went through a divorce and a downsizing on my job with Fort Wayne Community Schools initially. And I remember calling that township, that exact township, and wanting to see about services.
Right.
And the manner in which I was handled was terrible. And luckily, you know how we got family, so I didn't have to go.
Right.
But years later, 9 years later, someone comes to me and says, you know, we really need someone in that space who cares. And so Sharon Tucker was councilman at the time, and I don't know if you know Dr. Quentin Dixie, but they rallied around me and said, you're the one. And Quentin Dixie took my paperwork about 10 minutes before you had to put it in, and submitted it, and I hit the ground running. And I didn't understand that really is servant leadership. And I had already been doing it. And so a lot of times people think running for office is about the platform, right? But I learned, I think why I was successful and have maintained it is because I had platform before I went into public eye. Right. I was already doing that work, PTA, parent engagement, you know, all of those things, starting the PTA at Paul Harding. They didn't have one at the time, and we built it. So just doing community work for free. Let me say that again.
Right, for free.
There's no, I tell people all the time, I don't get a paycheck for Girlz Rock.
Right.
People don't believe that. I'm like, I've never in 14 years received a paycheck from Girlz Rock. So my work, my funds, anytime you get, it goes into direct services for girls and the work that we do.
Yeah. But real quick, because a lot of people have a misconception about what the township can or cannot do. Can you brief us on what the abilities and what the capabilities of the
That's
township?
a great question. I'm glad you asked that. So townships oversee poverty relief. And so we can pay for rent, we can pay for mortgages, we can pay for burials, we can feed families who have a need. But here's the problem that a lot of our families don't understand. You cannot have misuse of your funds.
Right.
And it becomes very difficult. But we have a state law and abiding that we have to follow. And so you cannot, I'm going to just say, go to S&V Liquor and it be on your, because we
Right.
check your financials, and then we see where you went on vacation and spent.
Right. So I can't go on my cruise and then
Right.
have you pay my light
Yeah.
bill.
You cannot. You cannot.
Yeah.
Because we understand that everybody does want a vacation and want to relax.
Right.
But we try to teach people what has to be your priority:
Yes.
your rent, your mortgage, and then those others.
Right.
And so part of it is a learning curve as well. And a relationship. I tell people my motto at Township is that we lead with love. I don't play with my staff and my team because we get a lot that comes through our doors.
Right.
And sometimes it's aggressive, sometimes it's mean, sometimes it's hurt, it's pain. But we have learned to create pain and purpose and pleasure. Listen, we're going to teach you how to manage your money.
Yes.
We have a payee program where we have to take people's checks because they are not able to do that. And we manage it. And so we meet humbly every week and just discuss in our huddles. We call it huddles because it's a huddle of the mind. Every person comes in that door differently. So even though we have laws and stipulations, I am as a trustee able to override things when I deem it,
Right.
necessary.
Right.
Yes.
And so it becomes a fine line, you guys. But again, when you lead with love, even the toughest of situations, when we cannot help them, I'm really big on connecting.
Yes.
And so I connect with churches. I connect with,
course.
groups of people who are saying they're doing this work. And so for me, I think that has been the difference in our township. And we stand out, I'll be honest, because we really are big on the lead with love.
Right.
Yep.
So even when we have to deny, they know we love them first.
Right.
And I work in the housing market, and I will say that when I hand out the resources for people who need rental assistance, something that I hear many years, regardless of what township it is they ask a lot of questions. Okay, what they're asking is for you to prove that you actually need the assistance. And one thing that you mentioned is when you did go to them for services per se, it's so hard for most people to ask for help. So when you're down and out and you don't know where your next meal or your next rent payment, and you're, on E, and you call or visit someplace and they treat you in such a way, that is something that just kind of always gets to me, because I can't imagine being stepped on when you're already feeling like you're at the bottom, so the fact that you recognize that, and I do tell people too, they are building a relationship. There's a lot of places to go get help with your rent, and there are places, I've done it for over 20 years, that will just write a check. Here you go, have a nice day.
Yeah.
But there are other organizations that want to educate you so that hopefully you won't find yourself back in this position. So I absolutely do agree with that. I want to kind of back up a little bit to something else that you had said. And you said that a lot of people will not become who God wants them to be because they are too attached to who they've always been.
Preach that.
Again, because I loved it. I loved that
preach
when
that.
I ran across this. I'm going to read it again. That a lot of people won't become who God wants them to be because they're too attached to who they've always been. Let's talk about that because you said that.
Can I? I want to add something to that, because the image of a young lady in this world today is really distorted. So I want you to connect that to how do you build the image of a young lady outside of what her neighborhood, her family, her everything has said that she's going to be.
Well, and the one thing I tell people, comfortability is what destroys and kills dreams a lot of time. We become complacent and comfortable. The second thing is what I see is what I will be.
Right.
And so a lot of times having the experience and exposure to something different. I saw a lot growing up in McCormick Apartment, right? I saw a lot, but here's the thing. I commend my mother. I tell her you were amazing at giving us experience and exposure beyond a lot of what our friends did. So when the YMCA offered a free program or a grant that she could afford, you go on to summer camp.
Right.
I remember going to gymnastics camp and was the only black there. You know what I mean?
Right.
My mom packed me and sent me. But it was those experiences and exposure that'll give you a taste of something different. It'll give you a glimpse of hope to see that you are definitely different. And so for me, when I think of girls, that's the key, is that how even as adult women, Think about it. When we get a different experience and we get exposed to something different, it is a game changer.
It's everything.
You know, and then having a strong sense of self. You know, I grew up with a mother who whispered, "I love you. I see you. Go get them." You know, now she was riding the bus, overweight, went to worked at Lincoln Life, all that, had a lot of dots against her.
Right.
But the way that she led with love and leads with love, even to this day, at 77 years old, has stuck with me. So I watched her sit at the table with Dr. Sharon Banks and be unapologetic about the vision for Adams and McCormick students.
Right.
And she didn't do it for a platform.
Yeah.
See, she didn't do it because it was going to get her likes. She understood her godly assignment and still does. And so for me, those are the things when I think about what can build a girl, it's that. And then thirdly, father. I tell people, listen, the father-daughter relationship is necessary. So for every woman who thinks that it is not and they can raise their daughter, that's fine. You may do okay and well, but you want greatness in your child. You want the gift of God. He's purpose, and he's clear on what he expects.
Right.
And so for me, I always tell dad, show up. You want to make a teacher shiver? Have a mom and dad show up in the space together.
Right.
Yes.
You know, and bring the gift of family. And I tell moms all the time, give your daughters the gift of confidence. When they see you walk in a space of confidence and assurance, that is a gift that you're giving them
100%.
that helps them carry the load lighter.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's,
Miss Denita, I know you have some things sitting in front of you. You have something coming up that you would like to mention.
Yes, we do. At the township, we have a community day, and it is in July. Don't kill me, Sandy Payton, but it is in July. And you can find out information on that if you go to info at adamstownship.org. We are going to have a day of free clothing. There'll be some food trucks, some free, some for purchase. We have every agency that you can even think of. Sandy Payton from Come As You Are Church is our new community outreach. She's transitioning from church, and she's come on board of our team. And so if y'all know Sandy Payton, y'all already know what it's going to be. And so we have that in July, and I do not know the date. So but it's in July. And it's info at adamstownship.org if you want that. The second information I had was our back to school, because I work at Fort Wayne Community Schools. And we have online registration for you guys. FortWayneSchools.org/myFWCS. Listen, parents, do not show up in August and not have your child pre-registered. We have a QR code. We have everything. Back to school supply list. Everything is on our website. We will be in our community going out. We've been at Metro Youth Sports the last couple of weekends getting parents registered. But feel free to call me if you need to with any questions with registration or getting kids in summer resources. 260-467-7303.
Love it. And we have a couple of comments to read.
Real quick, Jill. We were told, Miss Denita, your thing in July is July 12th.
Thank you so much.
That's what I was gonna get to that. Thank you, Tamisha. So anyways, back to the comments. I think, is it Fikes? Yes. Tamisha Fikes said accountability. Back to your previous statement. Mr. Scott says greatly appreciate this team. Shout out to our guest. Appreciate all that you do. Miss Fikes again. Trustee Denita Washington, keep doing great work. And then, of course, she threw in that date, July 12th, which is always helpful. We do appreciate our comments. And, before we exit, another quote.
I just want to ask, what is going on with your Girlz Rock? Do you have anything coming up for Girlz Rock?
That's what I was trying, but listen, it's all good and it's flowing and it's just filled. I'm like, it's okay, I am over here, but it's all good. But that was the question. I wanted to know what was coming up for Girlz Rock.
We do in the end of the July. Township in partnership will do a shot with the trustee. And Shop with the Trustee is that we give 200 kids $100 gift card. Now they have to come to the store. Right now it's Walmart South, and we Sandy gonna kill me again because it's date, but that's okay. Info at adamstownship.org.
That's right.
But we give 200 kids a gift card, and they have to come with their parent, and the kid has to come. We tag the clothes, so there is no return on clothes. You got to try them on. You got to know all of that before you leave. But each kid gets $100 because I've learned we inundate this community with book bags and school supplies. And so about 3 years ago, I said, I'm done with that.
Okay.
We need to really pour into families and where they need. And when I worked at Housing Authority a couple of years ago, I walked the property and saw kids not in school on the first week or two. And when you ask them, they say, I didn't have
Number
clean
one
clothes,
answer.
new clothes,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get my hair done. And so those are two things that we then try to solve. And
Yes.
so Girlz Rock will do a community day that day with serving for those families, helping young people go around, checking in. The other thing is we're doing a circle talk, and that will be at the end of July as well. I'll get all this information to you all, but that's just a day for us to restore, rejuvenate, and get ready to be respectful in the spaces when we return to school.
Yes.
Too many
That's so
times our
good.
girls spend the summer just kind of YouTube and watching, and we got to get them ready.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
That's
And so
right.
our mission with our circle talk is that we have some people come in ready to get them organized, ready to do some goal setting. We do some vision boards and all of those kind of things, because too many times we are not ready set to take on what education has to offer us. And we're serious about academics. We are learning that if our girls can get educated and they can get empowered and they can maintain I want to say celibacy. I'm going to be honest.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
hot.
And
That's
so
hot right
really
there.
teaching them about their self-worth and self-efficacy,
Yes.
then it's a game changer for them to climb the mountain of academics and education. And even if once they get beyond school, they go into trade. We had plumbers at our event. Because we now understand that not every girl is going through the 4-year track.
Right.
And that is
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Whatever your track, whether it's
Absolutely.
entrepreneurship, whether it's plumbing, whatever, we want to prepare you for greatness, and we see you. So that's the mission.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we
Love
see you.
Thank you.
Just so
We
you
do.
know.
We do.
So with that and seeing you, because obviously you're not a person that is selfish.
No.
I want to know and tell the people, how do you unwind and restore?
Yeah.
So you keep doing all this stuff.
I have learned if I have time to be authentic in the space, I did not used to do that. And over the last 2 years, with just challenges, I've learned to honor who I am because I want to be able to do this work for a long time. And I really want to do it on God's time for me. And so when you don't honor, then you're not healthy. And so travel is one thing that I do. I just got back from Dubai. Before that, I went over to Punta Cana. And so I'm
Not Punta
learning.
Cana.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I love
do
it.
too.
Yes.
And I read. I love silence.
Yes.
I have a lot of noise all the
Right,
time.
right.
And so for me, reading is something that I do. And I really am learning to buy myself time. So if I show up at the Clyde and I'm by myself, don't be worrying over there sitting like, oh my gosh. I'm not
love
sad.
it.
I love it. And so those are things. And I really like healthy friendships.
Yeah. That's good.
So at
Love
this
that.
space, the crowd has gotten small. You know, it's almost a triangle and sometimes a line and a dot. And a dot is just me.
Yeah.
You know,
Gotcha.
and so for me, I really like that in this time.
That golden
that.
circle.
I
And,
love
and, and still, one thing that I wanted to ask, because the legacy, what is the give back from Girlz Rock to alumni or whatever you want to call them? What is the give back for Girlz Rock?
Help me understand the question.
Like, if I went through the program, what is my contribution back, or how many of us come back to?
now that's a great question.
Reach back to give back.
I do.
type.
I have several girls that come back and speak every year. Right. So Dr. Oh God, I can't even think of her name. She's a physical therapist, but she comes back every year and speaks. Jessica Collins lives in Atlanta, and she still does all of my resources. Anything you see posted, that's Jessica from Atlanta. Madison Wallace, another student. She does all of our marketing. So flyers and all of that. So when you say legacy, that's what I really speak
Yeah.
to. You know, that once they leave, a lot of them then say when they get married, when they come back, or when they live away, what can I do? And then financial support.
Yes.
I'm really amazed at the ones who have been through our program, and when they become so. One, Ebony Tinker sent all my girls to see one of the movies and bought them all the book to match. And so those are the kind of things that when I think about, what girls have come through and how they see the program
Yes.
and just how they felt it was a true investment. That's what we get back.
I love
That's
that.
good.
Now, let's talk about investment. One thing. Tell the people how they can support Girlz Rock.
Yeah, that was
Oh, I can always use funds, but also I tell people prayers, funds, but also coming into our space, being a healthy minded woman and man, because we do dad panels, for us would be great. So you could reach out to me at 260-415-0844. You also can email me at Girlz Rock, FWGirls, GIRLS, rock@gmail.com. And I tell people the best place is Facebook. That's where we get a lot of our Fort Wayne Girlz Rock is very active on the Facebook page. And so those are the places that I can honestly say we have a website, but don't kill me. Yeah, don't remember. It's been honest with y'all. It's late, and yeah, I'll do better on my next interview.
Yeah,
Hey,
you
you're
good,
doing
wonderful.
great as it is. You're doing great. So that was my last thing is, lots of giving on behalf of the organization and yourself. So we always want to talk about how we as a community or we as a people can help. So thank you for answering that question. And Miss Denita, you had said one thing you've learned as a leader is to trust that you do belong in the room. So I want to thank you. We want to thank you and remind you that you do belong in the room. And tonight we've talked about the many things that you are involved in. Your pain being turned into purpose, and not just your purpose, but showing other people that they too belong in the room. You had said if that seat isn't for me, then I will go sit by myself, just like you told us that you'll do at the Clyde, because that's a seat full of love. So we thank you for being here. The community thanks you. Again, you definitely belong in the room, and you belong in the room too. So we thank you for being here with us this evening, and we ask that you join us tomorrow as well. And as we always say before we end for the evening,
You don't have to go ahead, Dr.
Always protect your mind. A podcast by Neutral Voices Media Group. In the Know.